Good morning to you, Mr. Philp.
Good morning.
We're just seeing live pictures there of President Donald Trump, who has arrived in Israel, where he'll be meeting the families of the hostages and later addressing Israeli parliament. What's your reaction to the news this morning that 7 hostages have been released so far by Hamas?
Well, it's welcome news that those 7 people who have been in captivity now for over 2 years have finally been released, and hopefully later on this morning the rest of the hostages will be released as well, who have been in captivity for so long, held by Hamas, the terrorist organisation. And let's hope this is the beginning of a process which not only leads to peace in Gaza, the removal of Hamas from any kind of control of Gaza, but also ultimately the establishment of a 2-state solution so Palestine and Israel can coexist in peace. So this could be, I think, a historic day, but let's keep in our minds today those hostages who have suffered so much.
Well, how historic,
and of course, these
Chris,
civilians in Gaza for whom relief is coming as well.
Chris, how historic is it that our own Prime Minister is there? Well, he's there in Egypt anyway as part of the peace plan that is going to gather there. What is your reaction to Keir Starmer being there and sharing in all of this?
Well, he's got a bit of a cheek, to be honest, because as far as I can see, this peace deal has nothing whatsoever to do with Keir Starmer or his government. In fact, the American ambassador to Israel has said, I think yesterday or the day before, this had nothing whatsoever to do with Keir Starmer's Labour government. And I think Marco Rubio, the American Secretary of State, said that the premature recognition which Keir Starmer's government gave a few weeks ago actually undermined the peace process and made things more difficult. So I think, to be quite honest with you, Eamon, he's got a cheek, he's got some brass neck, showing up, trying to claim some credit for something that is nothing whatsoever to do with him. And in fact, if anything, he probably made it harder with his actions.
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying, data brokers often target vulnerable people with high interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
Thing that may have had something to do with him, which is the Chinese prosecution case against those 2 British individuals, the spying case. And you would prefer, as I understand it, Chris, that he was in the House today answering questions on that.
Well, precisely. Instead of running off overseas to claim credit for something that's nothing to do with him, he should be behind me in Parliament answering the very serious questions Keir Starmer has to answer about why it was his government chose to withhold evidence which the government has in its possession, which, if they wanted to, they could have handed over to the Crown Prosecution Service, who'd been asking for the evidence for many, many months. But instead, Keir Starmer's government chose to withhold that evidence, causing the China spy trial to collapse. And the reason for that is that the Labour government are more interested in kowtowing to the Chinese for economic reasons to help bail them out of their financial mess that Labour has created. They're more interested in that than they are in protecting our national security. And Keir Starmer now needs to, their story keeps changing, the government's story keeps changing. Every time something they say is proven to be untrue. So Keir Starmer now needs to tell us who exactly decided to withhold this evidence. Many people say Jonathan Powell was intimately involved in that decision. Was Keir Starmer himself aware of all of this going on? We need answers to those questions. The Labour government's story keeps changing. First of all, back in September, that one of their ministers claimed to me in Parliament that the Labour government had no idea what was going on, nothing to do with them, it was all down to the CPS. And the Crown Prosecution Service were then so angry, they wrote 3 public letters exposing that as untrue. And that's why we need Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, in Parliament today, answering these questions. What did he know and when? What exactly did Jonathan Powell have to do with this? Who took the decision in government to withhold this evidence? All of these questions are completely unanswered at the moment. No wonder Keir Starmer has decided to go and hide in Egypt today.
I mean, Mr. Philp, you're saying that Keir Starmer has nothing to do with the Middle East peace plan. Steve Witkoff would disagree with you. He's posted on X this morning saying he'd like to acknowledge the vital role that the United Kingdom has played in assisting and coordinating efforts that have led to this historic day in Israel. In particular, he says, I want to recognise the incredible input and tireless efforts of the National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell. What do you make of that post, and what do you make of that name check by Steve Witkoff?
Well, first of all, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, so that's the equivalent of the American Foreign Secretary, and the American Ambassador to Israel, Ambassador Huckabee, were not saying what you just read out. They've been saying the opposite of what Witkoff apparently said. So why he has come out with this at the last minute, I am not sure. And maybe this name check for Jonathan Powell is some sort of desperate attempt to save Jonathan Powell's job. Clearly, Jonathan Powell is very much, the spotlight is on him, the finger is pointing in his direction, and as far as I'm aware, his position, his job, he's not a civil servant, by the way, he's a political appointee. His job is hanging by a thread, and I wonder if he's made a phone call and asked for a favour in a desperate attempt to save his job, when there are so many questions about his conduct here in the UK in connection with the China spying scandal. This just strikes me as a rather desperate manoeuvre.
What hope do you have, Mr. Philp, that this 20-point peace plan in Israel and Gaza is going to come about in fullness and will hold?
Well, I've got quite a lot of hope, because if the American administration puts its full diplomatic weight behind it and uses all of the means at its disposal, financial and otherwise, to make it happen, and Arab states in the region are behind it as well, countries like Egypt and Qatar are behind it, I think it does have a prospect of working. And obviously the peace plan, the 20-point peace plan, isn't just about the release of hostages and getting aid in to help civilians in Gaza. It's also about the removal of Hamas, which is a terrorist organisation, from any role in running Gaza. It's also about establishing, ultimately, a two-state solution where the Palestinians have their own sovereign state, living in peace and security alongside a safe and secure Israel. Now, I'm sure the road to getting that plan fully implemented is not going to be easy, but if the United States of America and some of those neighbouring Arab countries like Egypt and countries like Qatar that have a lot of influence in Gaza and Palestine, if they're behind it, I do have some optimism it can happen, and it'd be a good thing if it does, because both Israelis and Palestinians have suffered for a long time from the conflict in that region, and it'd be a good thing for everybody there to bring those hostilities to a conclusion.